The Trump administration's rolling out a proposed regulation that would ban federal tax dollars from flowing to health clinics that perform abortions or refer patients to where they can get them. The decision is likely to trigger lawsuits as pro-choice supporters say they will fight back. Ellison Barber has the story for us tonight.
Planned Parenthood says the administration's new proposal is about control, official government policy that tries to control women by blocking patients from care at Planned Parenthood, allowing doctors to withhold abortion information and putting women's health at risk. A White House administration official tells Fox News the Department of Health and Human Services filed a proposal today to update regulations governing the Title X program so that Title X family planning providers are financially and physically separate from abortion clinics. Supporters say it's a victory for life and a fulfillment of a campaign promise.
Right now, it's about 226 Planned Parenthoods receive Title X funding. And if this rule goes through as is, then they will no longer be able to receive that money. It's not going away from family planning. It's going into FQHCs and rural clinics where women really need family planning services.
Opponents say it's a dangerous move that disproportionately impacts low-income women.
But what we know from what was issued under the Reagan administration was that Title X providers were not allowed to discuss counseling options related to abortion. Women are not going to be able to access comprehensive health care.
The proposal, according to a White House official, is based on Reagan-era framework, but they say it's not identical and maintain that there is no gag rule. The official telling Fox News, quote, "This proposal does not necessarily defund Planned Parenthood as long as they're willing to disentangle taxpayer funds from abortion as a method of family planning."
I think that's semantics, to be honest. I think that if providers are going to be subject to unethical, restrictions on the information that they can provide their clients, then it's absolutely going to be a gag order.
White House officials say the proposal does not prohibit abortion-related counseling. They say it simply does not include a mandate requiring it. Current law prohibits federal funding, direct federal funding, from going to programs where abortion is a family planning method. Shannon?
Ellison Barber, thank you very much. All right, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi also sounding off on the decision, saying this, quote, "The Trump administration is moving yet again to take away women's basic health rights." She called it an outrageous assault on the health care available to vulnerable and underserved women. So let's talk about it more with President and CEO of Americans United for Life, Catherine Glenn Foster, and Marjorie Dannenfelser, the president of Susan B. Anthony List. Welcome to both of you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
We invited someone from Planned Parenthood to be with us live tonight. They didn't join us, but we did have a pre-taped interview with them, and we'll use some of that as we talk through this tonight. I want to start with this idea of a gag rule, and they're saying, the pro-choice folks, that that's what this amounts to. My understanding is you can counsel people on the issue of abortion still under these regulations. You can't refer them.
That's correct. And whatever a patient needs to know and ask, they will receive. There is no so-called gag rule. There's a script from the Reagan administration of that era. So there simply isn't. And it's really just trying to deflect from the reality of what this is, which is an attempt to divide abortion from family planning. That is what the statute says. That's what these regulations do. And so it makes total sense. It's integrity of the program.
Okay, so this is what Erica Sacken, who is the director of political communications for Planned Parenthood, told us when we asked her about this afternoon.
Rule would make it illegal for doctors to tell their own patients where and how they could access abortion. That's the definition of a gag rule. What this would mean is that if I went to my doctor and asked them where and how I would be able to access an abortion, they wouldn't be able to tell me.
Catherine, I mean, it sounds like that ending part of it is true if this is a clinic that's going to receive this Title X funding.
That's true. You can't refer for the abortion, but the administration, the pro-life movement, we welcome the conversation. Abortion should not be some dirty secret, something that's whispered about in back rooms. We want to be fully informing women, telling them about what abortion is and what it does. And we know that when women get that information, they tend to choose life.
Okay, now we also talked to her about the fact that Planned Parenthood has said this will be disastrous. A number of Democrats and people we heard from today, my inbox was filled, I'm sure yours was too, with people saying this is actually going to cut women off from health care because these Title X funds flow into underserved communities and that women will have nowhere else to go. Now we know that qualified federal health centers that don't perform abortions but do provide these other services outnumber Planned Parenthood 20-1. And yet they tell us that if this money is taken away from their clinics, women will be left with no options. Here's another soundbite from Erica Sacken with Planned Parenthood.
What Title X does is make sure that everyone in this country, no matter how much money they make, no matter where they live, no matter whether or not they have health insurance, that they're still able to get care like birth control and like cancer screenings. This rule would actually make that impossible.
Okay, I want to get you quickly both to weigh in. Marjorie, start with you.
I don't know where her facts are coming from. They may come from what she wishes the reality to be, but it's just hysteria, and it's intended to scare women and scare policymakers into thinking that Planned Parenthood deserves money, which they don't. America just does not believe that contraception is the equivalent of an abortion. They just don't agree with Planned Parenthood on this. This is just an attempt to divide those two things. And honestly, we have to go back to the reality that all of this money will flow to family planning programs that are very willing to abide by this, understand what family planning is and what it isn't.
And Catherine, we're talking about in this particular cut $50 to $60 million in federal funding that would go to Planned Parenthood and has.
Exactly. But what's critical here is that this proposed rule doesn't take 1 penny away from family planning funding. It redirects that funding to holistic women's health care clinics that provide comprehensive care and don't perform or refer for abortions. And that's critical because it takes taxpayers out of the business of funding abortion businesses and redirects it to those family planning, these family planning clinics, these federally qualified health care clinics and centers that are in towns across our nation, towns where you don't find Planned Parenthoods, but that are in women's own towns, in their backyards, and are much more readily accessible than Planned Parenthood locations.
Catherine and Marjorie, we thank you both for joining us live, and our thanks to Erica for doing the interview with us as well. We want to have all the voices in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.